And I don't know, some of you will be tuning in now, and some of you may see this a little later. But whichever dynamic happens, I am Charmy Pratt. For those of you who do not know me, I am your mental health coach, meaning that I do life skills on mental health and awareness, right? One of my goals is to help those out there in the world today to learn how to master what masters them, and that's usually your mindset. And so, with that said, I am going to be coming on here more often, just talking to you about mental health and mind mastery. So, with that said, today I have a special guest. She's a good friend of mine, you guys. Her name is Dr. Heather Henley, right? Dr. Heather Henley is going to come today and talk about a new book that she is working on, that's in the works, that she already has, right? And the book is called Sleepwalking While Woke, Exploring the Complexities of Conscious Living. Now, listen, you do not want to not tune in to this, right? So, for all of you out there, for those of you who may have even joined us now, I would advise you to share this, right? Because Dr. Heather is going to be talking about. Now, listen, I know that, many people say doctor this and doctor that, and you know what I'm saying? Like, even I say doctor, right? But listen, Dr. Heather is a licensed psychologist, right? And I want to read a little bit about her and who she is. And so, Dr. Heather Henley, she's from domestic abuse. She's a domestic abuse victim to best-selling art to a best-selling author. From domestic abuse victim to best-selling author, Heather Henley is the master of crisis therapy. I like that, the master of crisis therapy, because listen, you have to understand that whatever masters you, you are a slave to it. And so I
Right.
like the fact that she's a master at crisis therapy. You are able to master the things in life that masters you. You really are. Contrary to what you've been told or what you think, you can learn the skills of mastery. And so Heather Henley is the master of crisis therapy, shaking up the broken to swiftly bring their junk to the surface to enable them to deal with it now, not later, but now. She promotes mass healing quickly versus individual healing slowly. Now, see, I love that. That right there, that'll preach. For you out there who know me, I'm a word girl, right? That will preach. She listen. She promotes mass healing quickly versus individual healing slowly, and has a proven track record in getting amazing results in the most hopeless situations, even where others have failed. Getting her hands dirty in the trenches is where her heart has always gravitated. On the streets of Skid Row is where Heather honed her short term dynamic therapy while interning alongside faculty of Pepperdine University and UCLA. Heather embodies a no nonsense approach in her message. If it can't be done in 6 months, it can't be done. Oh my God. Listen,
Hmm.
Heather embodies a no nonsense approach in her message. And if it can't be done in 6 months, it can't be done. It's a quote she lives by, as she is handpicked by state agencies to work with the worst clients to stabilize them. Her clients refer to affectionately refer to her as the queen of consequences. I like that. So her clients refer to her as the queen of consequences,
Hmm.
as she is constantly reinforcing belief in natural consequences and accountability. She is transparent without pretense and wise in her counsel. She has a bachelor's in political science from Indiana State University, a master in criminology from Indiana State University, and a community psychology from Morton University. Dang, friend, you got it going on. Y'all need friends like this for real. Like, come on now, all these letters behind and in front of her name. All right. Listen. I love it.
Oh,
Listen, she is a licensed mental health counselor with credentials as a certified sexual abusive youth clinician, a registered behavior consultant, a qualified mental health professional, and a PhD in psychology with a concentration in Christian counseling. So let me just say this. The information that you are going to get in this little segment is worth much money. Okay? This is why you got to know people that can come on your stuff and give valuable tools and information. But I like this because she is about the people. And so she does stuff to not only, even though she has all of these licensures, she still navigates from a heart that is to help God's people and people in general to come into an overall mental awareness and health state that they are able to function in the realities on this earth that God has qualified them to function in. And so she teach people that they are qualified and they are able to live their best life ever if they learn certain principles and strategies to help them to navigate through life. And so today, Dr. Heather is coming on here to talk about, like I said, a book that she is writing, and she has so many. But this book is called "Sleepwalking While Woke: Exploring the Complexities of Conscious Living." Right. And so when you think on that, then I want you to also think on it from a space that she is about to help you in this segment to just be able to understand skills and dynamics that's literally for your overall mental health. Does that make sense? And so I love this. I love the fact that we have a licensed clinician on here, right? Now, I'm not saying that people don't, because she respect me, right? And even though mine is honorary, she still respects the call and the different things. But listen, I bring you content and people that I know really does hold foundational truths to how to help you to become from a place of being a victim to a victor,
mhm.
right? We really do teach people how to become from being a victim to a victor, and you are a victor. And so Dr. Heather is going to talk to us today about sleepwalking while woke. I love that. That right there, just sleepwalking while woke. Like, come on, somebody. Like you're listen. Like, I don't think y'all hear me. Sleepwalking, but you wide awake. And but she's going to help you to explore the complexities of conscious living and understanding why you can be wide awoke and still be sleepwalking. Oh, come on now. Listen, I'm stared up about this topic.
That's
I am
good.
gonna move out the way because I want to hear. Like, this is my first time hearing this, right? And we talk, but this is my first time hearing sleepwalking while woke from her. Okay, and so I want to hear what the Lord has given her, even from her clinician side and even from the natural side, on how we can literally be sleepwalking and be wide awake. All right, Dr. Heather, I'm moving out the way. This is over for
I
me.
listen, I love it. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharmi, for allowing me to come on. Um, Look, I have been on a journey over the past 3 months, and so this is one of those books that I set on the countertop, right? Probably 5 years ago. And before I begin to even talk about it, I want to explain to you a little bit what even brought this on. I want to say my son is 30 now, but I did this and my son did it too. So it has the propensity to be hereditary, right? So when I was a little girl, I would sleepwalk. I would sleepwalk. And it typically happens with like kids and young adults, right? I would sleepwalk and I would find myself in the closet, which I'm thinking is the bathroom. I would find myself journeying through the house, doing things that I typically would do while I was awake.
Mm.
And I never, understood it. My mother would just, of course, get me back into bed, all those good things. But then I experienced it with my son. And so I would have to lock the doors, Dr. Sharmy, because I didn't want him to get up in the middle of the night while I was asleep and he'd be outside and he'd be doing a lot of things. So I began to do a lot of research just about individuals that sleepwalk, right? And so before I even talk about this book, I want to at least give you some backstory on what sleepwalking is. And so it occurs at nighttime, usually a couple hours after falling asleep. And so there is a sleep pattern that we have. And so I don't have time to go into the whole sleep pattern. That's another time. But there's a particular sleep pattern that we go through, and it happens right before we hit that REM, right? That's right before we're in that deep sleep. So it's kind of in that place of you a little bit sleep, but you kind of not. And so it usually happens a couple hours after you've laid down to kind of rest, or it happens during a nap or anything like that. And so what happens is an individual will almost get up and do daily activities that they normally would do. We have had some research where people get up and go and try to drive a car. They get up and go and try to cook dinner because the unconscious mind is consciously moving as though they are awake.
Mm.
And so I wanted to do a lot of research on this. And so you already know that I believe the spirit and the natural are parallel. They work hand in hand. They're in tandem. They are not separate. Individuals believe that things are separate. They are not. It's just like this. It's parallel. So whatever is happening here in the natural, it is also at the same concurrent time happening in the spirit realm as well. It just happens that way because they're parallel. Okay, so as I was kind of, really researching this, some of the things, and I'm just going to throw out some symptoms here, and I want you guys to really listen. I want you to think about this. Some of the symptoms that we look at when we're talking about sleepwalking is you get out of bed and you walk around. You sit up in bed and you open your eyes, right? You have glazed, glassy-eyed expressions. You don't respond or communicate with others. Sometimes you're disoriented or you're confused for a short time after being awakened. Some people have sleep terrors in addition to sleepwalking. So you have a nightmare while sleepwalking. Some people do routine activities such as getting dressed, talking, or even eating.
Wow.
Some drive a car, some leave the house, and some people just engage in that unusual behavior, such as urinating in a closet, because I've done that as a child, right? Some people get injured, for example, by falling down the stairs or jumping out windows. We have so many things that happen when you are sleepwalking. And so as I begin to really dig deep, just from this psychological perspective, because when we're talking about just sleepwalking in general, it causes us to think about just sleep disorders. But as I begin to think a little bit differently, because I specialize in complex trauma, it calls me to think about what is really happening to us in the natural when we are actually woke, but we are presenting symptoms as though we're asleep.
Okay, so wait a minute, because there's so much that's going in my spirit right now. But I want you to explain what is uh, mental complexities. What is that in psychology?
So when we're
It,
talking about
mhm,
complexities, we're just talking about some of those issues that are so complex because you have so many different variables. I'm gonna give you a natural example, and I'm gonna help you out and give you a spiritual too for Dr. Sharmi. So that for your audience that's spiritual, right? But in natural, so you have to think, and then I'm the same example. I take that back. I'm gonna use one example, and it is going to be natural and spiritual.
okay.
Here's an example. So I read about this man named Job.
Mhm,
And so Job was living his best life. Things were good. He had great relationships in his community. He did well for himself. He had money, cars and land.
mhm,
He had a wife and children, and everybody was doing well. Well, one moment, one instance changed up everything.
mm,
So one particular day, um, the children's house blew away. The cattle were slaughtered. Somebody came in and did a drive-by, shot up all of the cattle, the goats, the sheep. Listen,
mm,
they killed the chickens. The dogs was eating the chickens, the eggs. Listen, the drive-by
yeah,
came through and slaughtered everything, right?
right.
Um, a natural disaster came and blew, when we have these tornadoes, because where I live at, we have tornadoes. So
Mhm,
the tornadoes come, the winds are at 150 miles per hour, and it's lifting everything off of the earth at one time. That quick in a moment. So we had tornadoes happening, we had drive-bys coming by. All of these things happen at the same time.
mm,
At the same time. So Job was experiencing a complex conscious living.
mm,
It was complex.
mhm.
And if we added a little further, all his boys that came to talk to him, they couldn't even deal with the complexities because they hadn't experienced it.
Oh, that's so good.
They couldn't
Oh,
deal with it. They couldn't deal with the complexities because they hadn't experienced. And then the story tells me that he had a wife. And what I found out about the wife was that she didn't even have the capacity to hold him while he was experiencing the complexities of conscious living.
mm, 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 mm.
So she told him, maybe you should just, curse everybody, kill yourself, and die. And as I read the story a little further, she left him. She didn't die. She left him. She left him. So my question would be, how many individuals are dealing with complexities of conscious living right
Mm,
now? How
wow.
many are getting blows back to back? They turned the water off. You don't have the money to pay the rent. You got an eviction notice. They just came and picked up your car. As soon as you walked out and was about to drive your kids to school, there was no car. The heat was cut off.
Mm,
How many are dealing with complexities of conscious living? Not to mention all of that happened. Then you find out that your mother or your father had a heart attack. Your
mm,
sister died.
mm,
These are all complexities of conscious living. And
mhm.
so what happens is when individuals are dealing with these different level of complexities, we get in a catatonic state where we are woke, but we're sleepwalking.
Wow. Okay, so you can't. Okay, tell the people what canatonic is. Come
Okay,
on.
that is a state of almost being like, I gotta think about it. I want you to think about a walking zombie. How many of you guys have seen the Walking Dead, the Sleeping Dead, the zombies of the dead? I mean, come on, everybody done seen the movies. That is like you are the Walking Dead because they are walking, but they have no activity.
Mm,
They're dead. So if you're sleepwalking while woke, you are really in a place of death. but you're just walking. Which
Mm,
is why in the beginning, I gave you some symptoms. And I'm just going to go back really quickly to some of the symptoms. I said, listen, uh, you
mm,
get out of bed and just walk around.
mm,
You don't respond to communication with others. You're disoriented or you're confused for short periods of time after being shook, awakened. You have problems functioning during the day because of disturbed sleep. So you never woke up, which is why you continue to have problems during the day, right? And so when you begin to think about the symptoms of an individual that is asleep,
mm,
because of the complexities of our conscious living, the things that we're experiencing from day to day, it puts us in a place of death. It puts us in a zombie state where we are actually walking around dead. We're asleep. We are not comprehending, but we're woke.
mm,
It goes on to say that you drive your car, that you leave the house, that you do routine activities such as getting up in the morning, brushing your teeth, washing your face, putting your clothes on, preparing yourself a meal, right? You are talking and eating,
mm,
but you're asleep.
mm. So let me ask you a question, Doc, real quick.
Yes.
Um, so because I hear what you saying about there people are woke, but yet they're asleep. And you
Mhm,
begin to give off just some different concepts or different realities that we experience every day.
mhm.
But one of the things that I like that you said was, but you're dead. Like you became numb to life is what came to me. Like
Absolutely.
you're woke, you're up, but you're functioning in a non-functional state, even though you're functioning. And so
Absolutely.
with that said, so it was the traumas of the conscious living that
Mhm.
begin to hit people. And now people, they go through all the routines. They go through all the, like you said, you get up, you brush your teeth, you comb your hair, you put on your clothes, you put on your makeup. For women, you do all of these dynamics and you go and you try to participate in life.
Mhm.
But in realities, though you're participating mentally, you're not comprehending. So let's talk about that because that is really deep to me because
Absolutely.
so many of us do this and we feel that because we are able to function. It reminds me of someone who can, because I knew many people that knew how to function even while on drugs.
As
And they
functioning
knew how to
drug
function
addict.
effectively when it came to their job. And then they go home or they leave a job and they begin to shoot up, smoke up, do whatever, right? And or even with alcoholism. Go to
Mhm.
work, function, do everything you need to do, but go home and then you just drink till you pass out. So
Mhm.
let's talk about that because you have these different dynamics. People may not be smoking and drinking, in that capacity, but nevertheless, it's a lot of people that are still sleepwalking while they are awake and they're
Mhm.
trying to function in the confinements of life, not really understanding that you have to, your mental complexities, your
Mhm.
mind is on shutdown, but you're
Yes.
operating as if you still picking up the kids, you still going to the grocery store, you still doing all these conscious living things, but
Mhm.
nevertheless, even though you're conscious, you're not conscious.
Right.
Girl, talk
It's
about
a
that.
well, so what it is, it's a disconnect from oneself,
Mm,
right? And so a lot of times when we are talking about, like, we have a disorder called dissociative disorder, right?
Mhm.
And so within that disorder, people have different personalities, right?
Mhm.
And so what happens is it is a disconnect from oneself. Why am I saying that? Okay, I'm going to give you an example. I am a doctor of
Mhm.
psychology.
Mhm.
I am a mother. I am a sister. I am a daughter.
Mhm.
I am a friend.
Mhm.
I'm a wife, right? Girlfriend, boyfriend. I'm just naming things, right? I'm a professor. And what happens is if the students call me, I said, hey, this is Dr. Heather. How can I help you?
Mm.
You need me to you weren't able to get your assignment in? Okay. My daughter called me. Hey babes, what's going on? What you need from mommy? Okay. Dr. Sharma, you call me. Hey girl, what's going on? How's things going?
Mhm.
Right? My mother called. Yes, mom, what do you need from me? It is a disconnect. And so I just disconnected at least 5 different times
Mm.
in a matter of not even 90 seconds, depending on the situation. And I did it effortlessly
Mm.
because it is a disconnect from oneself. So it's a disconnect from my inner self of things that are going on with me. And a lot of times when we are dealing with the complexities of conscious living, we are only dealing with what is happening now, but we're not dealing with that internal self of what got us in the place and what got us to this place of sleepwalking in the first place,
Mm. 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 Mm.
because we never deal with the trauma, right? That's
Right.
why individuals, that's why we have communication. That's why people get divorced. That's why businesses, break up. Uh, that is one of our leading causes is not the fact that people can't get along. It is the communication. I can't communicate the fact that I'm having a hard time because yesterday my husband beat me.
Mm.
I can't communicate that. But I do have to get up, put the face on, get the kids together, take them to school, and I have to sit in front of other people and act like nothing is happening.
Wow.
It's a disconnect. And then when you call me and listen, and then I help the individual who's in an abusive relationship because I have all of the practical skills.
Mm. 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 Mm.
I'm
S-
sleepwalking
Whew.
while,
Listen.
while I'm woke.
So you just said you have all the practical skills to help somebody to be able to engage, even though they're not engaging.
Yes.
So you're not engaging, but I have all the practical skills, right?
Mhm,
And this goes to show that when you're thinking about skill sets, right,
mhm.
you're able to function in your skill sets, but you disconnected from the reality of who you really are.
Absolutely.
Because and so this that's really good because we're in a world system that deals like that, right?
Mhm.
And so we're constantly saying things are okay when we're not okay. We're
Right.
constantly saying I'm blessed and highly favored when we're not blessed and highly favored. I mean, let's just talk about it because
Absolutely.
we constantly put these words out there and we try to cause these words to become reality. But the only how things come a reality is when you begin to number one deal with, like you said, you got to connect with self. You
Yes, you're in it.
cannot keep
Yes.
disassociating from the trauma that afflicted you and hurt you whenever you, like you said, got into that place. So, what was it that put you there? Why
Yes.
are you not dealing with that? But it's easy for me to tell you, even after I've been beaten, like you said, I didn't got beat. Even after that, I can still, oh, girl, I'm blessed and highly favored. How are you?
Yes.
Your husband just beat you last night.
Yes.
He just he just drug you down the steps.
Yes.
But you put on this face
Yes.
and you put on this smile like, oh, I'm okay. No, oh, how's things at home? Oh, we're good. I mean, we're going on, we're doing this, we're doing that. Tell me this. Let me ask this question.
Hmm.
What is it that causes us to dissociate? What is it?
Well, there are so many different variables, right?
Mhm,
One of the biggest thing is that place of humiliation, right?
mhm,
You know, when you think about a lot of times, social media has caused us to believe that we have to present, right, our self presentations, right? We have to present in a certain light in order to have a certain level of affluency, right? To be affluent, right? To impact. And individuals believe that. So what they do is they go through these different levels of hardship. They go through different things in their lives because they want to uh, make individuals believe that they are in a place where they really aren't. But this is what's key. When we're talking about our ideal self, that is really a place that I desire to be in. I just don't know how to get there.
mhm.
So that's why a lot of individuals, so the reality is in my mind, right? In my mind, I want to be in a healthy relationship. In my mind, I want to have a beautiful home, or I want to have, you know, money or cars or whatever the case may be. That's my ideal self. That's what I see. That's the idea that I believe for Heather. But that is not my current reality. So how do I allow my current reality to catch up with my ideal self?
Yeah.
And so, because it is difficult, or
Mhm.
because of the complexities of being consciously living in a society where everyone sends a representative and is not authentic, it makes it difficult for me to just show up. So now I have to show up in this place where I'm dead or I'm numb
Ooh.
because I won't be accepted.
Mm. Wow. Wow.
I won't be. I won't be. I mean, let's think about it. Let's just think about it. Let's just say, for jokes, right? Let's just say that um if we all found out that let me give somebody good. If we all found out that Oprah, let's just say Oprah, and I love Oprah. Oprah, if you see this, call me, okay? Anybody know her, tell her to call me. But let's just say, hypothetically, Oprah, all of a sudden we found out that everything that she said was really a lie. She really didn't believe that in any of the things that she said, right? Because people live by what she said. That, you know, she at home getting beat by Statman and whoever else, that she is not what we have put her on this pedestal to be. What do you think would happen in society?
Mm. Wow.
And Oprah is none of those things now.
She's
But
not.
what do you think would happen in society? Because it happens in religion all the time.
Mm.
Right? It happens in religion. We put individuals on these pedestals,
Uh-huh.
and because we put them on these pedestals, they have to show up,
Mhm.
because then it becomes a betrayal. It becomes a place of humiliation. I'm humiliated for following you, for being stupid, for even thinking that, because I put you on such a pedestal
Yeah.
that you can't fall.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
So now I have to consciously continue to live a lie and walk around like everything is okay. Listen, I have been there and done it, which is why I can probably rattle these books out, because I've been there and done it. I have been sleepwalking while woke, wanting to die, trying to figure out how to die, right? What can I do? What positions can I put myself in, right? Because I was unhappy.
Yeah.
But I still woke up, got up, put my clothes on, brushed my teeth, went and worked with women and men, stabilized them, brought them out of broken places, stopped them from killing themselves and their families, all that from in a place of being dead and numb, just sitting and looking, saying, yes, I understand.
Mm.
I get that. So let me tell you some strategies that you can use.
Yeah. Please, please.
Yeah. So those are the things that I would do on a daily basis, Dr. Sharmi, when I was in a place of death. I was just walking around. Have you ever spoken to someone and you're in a full conversation and it is like they are looking through you? Because I've been in conversations with people and you can tell from their eyes. It talked about glossy eyes, or even those places where individuals cognitively, they are not present. I've been in conversations where they are not present.
Mm-hmm.
And we still have conversations, be like, yes, girl, I know. And they are not even present. And so this book just about sleepwalking while woke, and just understanding just those complexities of conscious living, that you are actually walking around in a catatonic state. You're really dead. You have no brain activity. If there is no brain activity, the body is dead, even if there is life support. Are you understanding what I'm saying? And so a lot of individuals are walking around on life support because there's no brain activity.
Mm, mm, mm. Let me ask you a question real quick before you give some strategies, and she's gonna give strategies. But you just said something. A lot of people are walking around on life support. Can you give examples, natural examples of individuals that are walking or in this place of sleepwalking while just woke? They sleepwalking, but they're woke.
Mm-hmm.
These are individuals that are walking around and they are on life support, like you
Mm-hmm.
said. But they're walking around um, in a place of believing that they're up because they're able to hold a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
They're able to still function and get do all these functionalities. So
Mm-hmm.
give me some examples of some individuals that, from a psychological standpoint, that you can say you're on life support.
Well, those individuals. So one of the things when we're looking at individuals that are on life support, I always say those peoples who are struggling with just those levels of oppression and depression, right? They're kind of
Okay, oppression. You got to
Mhm.
tell the people what oppression is.
So oppression is when there is just a weight upon you, right? You just feel overwhelmed all the time. It's an oppression. It's like something is sitting on your shoulders. It's hard to take in air. It's hard to breathe sometimes. You find yourself like, oh my God, it's a lot. Everything appears like it's heavy, like there's a heavy weight on you. There's a heavy weight. And so that is being oppressed. Being depressed is when there is a loss of appetite, disappointment, the unfulfilled expectations that you may have had in your life that you wanted to happen, they just are not happening. Period. You are sad. You are more days sad than happy. You can't find any positivity even out of positive situations. They still somehow turn into things that are a little bit more negative. So those are the differences between those two. Loss of activities, energy. You want to sleep and not do things, because an oppressed person person can still walk around and function. They just walk around tired and heavy. And they just like, oh, my, my neck. And what that does is it begins to lead into other things.
Mm-hmm.
So when we are talking about people that are just walking around in these places of being dead, right? That means that the conversations are dead. And most individuals that are experiencing that have experienced some type of issues in life. And listen, it doesn't have to be that you were raped. It doesn't have to be that you were molested. It could be that you lost your job. It could be that you were at a plant, because we have these situations to occur all the time. It could have been that you worked at this job for 25 years. This was the only thing that you did, and all of a sudden COVID came and they shut the plant down, and that was the only skill that you believed that you had, and that was all that you could do. So now you're without a job. And you can't find yourself, right? You can't catch your breath. You can't find yourself doing anything else. So now you pretend, right? You get up, you act like all of these things are okay when things really are not okay.
Wow. Okay. Wow. So listen, now it's strategy time. Now she's gonna give y'all a few little strategies here, right?
So yes, so I want to give you some strategies. Now, first of all, and if you feel yourself that you're in a place of sleepwalking while woke, right? I gave you some of those symptoms, but I want you to think a little bit deeper than just the symptoms of sleep. If you know that you are functioning in that state while you are walking around, you really need to speak with someone, whether it is a therapist, whether it is a coach. You want to be able to speak to someone, because one of the things that you want to work through is unmasking what some of those routines are, and being able to deal with what is actually happening with you. So you want to unmask. That is one of the things that you want to do. The other thing is, once you begin to unmask and begin to talk about those things, I talk about this place about wounds, and I don't have the time to really go deep into the wounds. But when we talk about wounds, you want to be able to deal with those things that are causing you to be in that place of sleep. And how you deal with them is, number one is you have to apply pressure on what's bleeding. You got to apply pressure. Okay. That's first. I don't have time to really go deep, but
Go ahead.
You got to apply pressure on what's happening, what's bleeding, because you're bleeding out. I don't have time to talk about it, but you're bleeding out, right? So you have to apply pressure. You got to apply a level of pressure. But then after you apply pressure, you have to bring oxygen. When you bring oxygen to wounds, to sores, they heal quicker, right? That means that you have to find a place where you can breathe. How do you breathe? You begin to talk about what's happening. You got to be able to release. So you got to put pressure on what's bleeding, right? Okay, because we got to clot it. You want to breathe. Okay, but then after that, you have to know that everything that you've experienced leaves a scar. That's why the complexities of conscious living is important. It is complex, but you consciously walk through it. It's living. You're journeying, right? You're journeying. So you want to make sure that you recognize that the purpose of the scar is so that you can cover what is trying to be healed. Remember, I said we already got to apply a little pressure. But then lastly, you have to know that you have to strengthen what remains on the inside of you, because not everything was lost in the fire. Oh, not everything that you experienced, not every complex situation left you to a place where you can't find a glimmer of hope or something illuminated from what was left after the fire. So when we're talking about sleepwalking, if you come across the therapist, right, they're going to awaken you. It's like a shaking. But once you go through that process of being shook, you now have to deal with the wounds. How do we deal with them? We unmask them. We have to we just got to unmask them. We got to take it off. I mean, I need you to take off all your 15 hats. Listen, I just need you to sit in the chair and sit in emotion. Sometimes I tell people, listen, I have to take off all of my hats. And sometimes when I am in a place, I just want to be a daughter. So I call my daddy and I say, Daddy, I'm taking off the doctor. I'm taking off, all of these titles that I have. And I just need to sit in your lap. Listen, we have a tool that we use. It's an activity, a skill that we do. It is a part of cradling, right? When we cradle clients, I have had grown men sit in my lap and I just cradled them and they wept. It was nothing inappropriate, but they had not been in a place of vulnerability. And so when you are trying to come out of a place of being asleep or numb or dead, what we have to do is jolt you a little bit. You know what happens when people have heart attacks? They jolt them. They be like, oh, we need to give them 1,000 more amps of energy. We're gonna, we put a little pressure. We go, right? Because we gotta wake them. Which is why one of the things said, when you wake them, it's a level of confusion, right? They're a little confused when they're awakened, but you have to be able to be willing to go through that process. And so, and I'm gonna leave this as the last one, and this one is in chapter 6. You want to do some mindful consumptions in a material world. I need you to come into reality. Come out of, we're in these fantasy worlds psychologically, but when you are coming to yourself,
Jesus.
I need you to have mindful consumption. That means that is what you're eating. That's what you're taking in on the inside of you. And so you have to be able to make sure that it has impact. Right? It has to impact you. It has to collide with who you are, with your purpose, with assignment, with what you're trying to do with your life, with your vision. And so all of those things need to happen.
Wow. So this was good. Listen, I got, me and Dr. Heather was talking, and I'm bringing her back on. So stay tuned, because I want her to talk about her other book. Okay? Her other book, one of her other books is called The Psychology of Deliverance. And so I really want her to talk about that, the psychology of deliverance, because I love how she said, sometimes you got to take off all the hats and be a daughter or a son. You got to let go and just really be able to allow someone to cradle you. I love how she talked about, in order for you to even begin, you have to apply pressure to what's wounded.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Because you're bleeding out. If you cut yourself, the blood and listen, depending on where the wound is, some blood, it shoots out a little bit heavier than others. There are some internal bleeders. So you have to understand where you are. Are you bleeding internally? Or is it one of those cuts where it's just shooting out, hitting everybody? Everybody getting splashed in the face. We got to apply pressure.
Yeah. See, that's so good right there. She just want me to go, but I'm resisting all of that, because listen, we will be on here if I get into anything she just elaborated on. But one of the things that I want to say is, if you want to get in touch with Dr. Heather, you can do so at her website, which is Heather's /Henley or you can get in touch with her on her social media platforms at Heather_Henley. Dr. Heather, again, she has 1,000 licensures. So if you need to hear about them, I'll just go back to the beginning because I kind of named some of them. Okay. And so she's skilled and she knows how to really help people to master the crises that have applied a lot of oppression and depression to their lives. And that's one of the things that I love about she is the master crisis therapist, meaning that she stabilizes this in 6 months, right?
Yeah.
She is known for getting clients that were on medication off of medication, and she walks through with you through that process. So for you who may tune in, and you may be looking for a therapist, a counselor, or somebody that you can actually sit down and consult with on this level, right? You know that no, I'm past a coach. I need somebody that's really going to help me to navigate. I'm going to refer you to Dr. Heather Henley. Okay. She is able to help you in the most critical states, and she's able to help you to stabilize. Trust me on that. One of the things, like I said, she does do um, virtual therapy. And so you're able to contact her. Nobody will ever know that you contacted her. I don't know how much her prices are, so I can't tell you, oh, she's this, she's that, but she's worth every penny of whatever it is that she charges. I would just admonish you to get in touch with her. We are in a state and time where we need these type of people to help us to navigate, so you can come to somebody like me, right? So you can come to that next phase, right? You can have that coach in your life that's going to help you to navigate through so many different other areas in your life, right? And so with that said, listen, you guys, I have something too that, listen, we are going to the UK, right? We're going to the UK for one of my retreats. We actually will be in Lincolnshire, England, and I'm excited about it. I have only 9 spots available for this, right? If you are interested in coming, women, listen, as she said, sometimes you need to come away, right, to
Mm,
get that. And this is for those that know that they need that time to just get away, and that time where they want to focus on her, right?
mm,
Those are my retreats. Her luxury retreats. Her stands for healthy, exuberant, and reanimated women, right?
mm,
Because we want to get you into that part or that place where you are healthy, you are exuberant, and you are reanimated, right? We want you to be her. Everybody think they her, but I'm gonna let you know everybody's not her. They're not. It doesn't matter your platform. It doesn't matter, And here's the thing. Sometimes I fail to understand why do those who do have all of these titles and platforms don't get to a place where you are the first ones who really need a lot of healing, because
mm,
you pour out so much that you have to be refreshed. Many of us don't do that scriptural thing that God told us, because those that refresh others shall themselves be refreshed.
yeah.
God looks for us to be refreshed after we are pouring out consistently. And so I invite you, come to her, right? Look me up, Facebook, my website, charmypratt.com. You will find it there. But I'm excited. And Dr. Heather, thank you so much for coming on this platform. This just
Absolutely.
coming out here, right? You guys, this is my podcast, right? This is just me putting my podcast back out here. This is not one of those platforms this is my podcast, right? And so you can find this message will be able to be found on all podcasting platforms. All podcasting platforms, or you can go back and you can look at it on YouTube or even here on Facebook. But I want you to know that Dr. Heather is coming back, because we're going to talk about the psychology. Y'all see, she ain't, I told her she was, that's what you can do when you know people, y'all. Okay. Now, if she was somebody I didn't know, I would ask her to come back. But listen, she's going to talk about the psychology of deliverance. And she's going to bring that standpoint, not only from a natural level, but a spiritual aspect on
Mhm.
what does deliverance really look like in the kingdom of God. And so, Dr. Henley, thank you for joining me today. God bless you
Absolutely.
all.